Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Jack of All Trades. I'm your host, Jack Allen, and today we have a rather unique show for you. If you've probably noticed that Bethel Park real estate is booming, and we have with us today Robins Bobbitt from Howard Hanna, and she's here to tell us a little bit about the market, so we hope you enjoy the show. My guest today is Robins Bobbitt, and she's from Howard Hanna. She's the office manager / sales director.
That's right.
So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And I do have to ask you, Robins, I've never heard that name before, so.
It's a last name for a first name. It was a last name on my dad's side of the family a long time ago. And everybody seems to name everybody after family members, so there you go.
Oh, well, it's different.
It's a mouthful.
It's one that you're not going to forget.
That's right.
So how long have you been at Howard Hanna?
So I've been managing now for 8 years, and I was an agent for 6 years before that.
Okay. And your office is located where?
180 Fort Couch Road. It's the office in the tower across from South Hills Village Mall.
Okay. So the big question is, and everyone notices around the area, that it seems like the houses are not on the market long, if they're on the market at all. So how's the total, your assessment of the real estate market in Bethel Park?
It's great. It's great. It's been a crazy year. Coming off COVID, we experienced really good interest rates. And I think that with a combination of low inventory, so not many houses entering the market, homes sold fast, they sold quickly with really good prices. A lot of prices escalated over a listing price. So then that was a huge dynamic in and of itself and how to manage it. But it's been a great market.
So would you say it's definitely a seller's market now?
It is. It is a seller's market. Yes. If you ever think about listing a house, like now is such a good time to sell. Yeah, it's great. You'll definitely get more money now, I'd say, than we've seen in the last few years. It's almost like a perfect storm in real estate because buyers have really good buying power with low interest rates, and sellers have the commodity, so it's a good time for them to put their houses on the market and homes sell quickly.
Okay. Now, the interest rates, are they leveled off, or how do you see those moving in the future? I know no one could tell.
I know, and that's a good question. I get asked that a lot. So I'm not in the mortgage side, but what I see is that rates continue to remain really good, like under 3%. I would love for them to stay there. And it also depends on the product. Like, are you looking at a 15-year mortgage or a 30-year conventional? But in general, the rates are very good, and I'm hoping they'll stay through spring. Let's keep our fingers crossed, because it's great for buyers. They can afford so much more.
I could just, short story, I lived in Columbus, Ohio, probably was in the mid-70s, I would say. And we purchased a home out there, and the interest rate was 18%.
I know.
So,
isn't it amazing?
So it's, I mean, it's ridiculous.
I know. This feels like almost free money in a way.
So, yeah.
It's not, but it really does feel that way. We have that conversation a lot with parents that come in with their kids, and they're just so amazed at what the kids can buy a house for now compared to what they started out with.
Right. So if a person is considering selling their house, what's the first thing they should do?
Well, it might sound contrary, but I think if someone really wants to sell their house, the best thing to do is first off go get pre-qualified for where they're going. For example, you want to make sure you're able to move forward. You know, you don't want to go through all this getting your house on the market and then not be able to, for whatever reason, be able to purchase. So stepping back a second, getting pre-qualified by a reputable lender is really important. Someone you can trust, maybe somebody in your community that you've worked with before, and feel good about those numbers so that you know then what your buying power is. And then start that discussion, hopefully with an agent, on where do you want to go? Like, are you downsizing in square footage? Is that the goal? Do you want to just save money in a monthly payment? Are you moving to a vacation home? We have a lot of people that just want to sell and go to the coast. So for whatever your goal is, first look at the financial picture of that and get comfortable what that's going to be like. And then you can start looking at, finding an agent and what's important to get your house ready.
Okay, so you're saying actually have a place in mind that you're going to move, and just don't wake up one morning and say, I think I'm going to sell the house.
Right.
Because, I've looked, and to downsize would be great, but with the prices in the market now, I don't think that would be an advantage from where I'm at.
Well, and that's true. Prices overall, they've escalated, and every year, there's an appreciation value. So that's one reason why you want to look around. Make sure you understand what you're going to do. Are you going to buy a ranch somewhere, and where would that be, and what's the market like there? Just make sure those pieces of your puzzle work out, and then once you have that picture together and you feel good about it, then start working on selling your house.
Okay, and you did mention a few times about contacting an agent. So your suggestion obviously would be that's the route to go. Contact someone, tell them where you're looking, where you want to go, and then get the ball rolling.
Absolutely. Being an agent and a sales director, I'm such a proponent of an agent. They know what they're doing. They've been in this market for a while. So they understand how to help you find the right house. Is an exclusive listing that might be good for you. Maybe that's a house that's not on the market yet, and it might fit your needs. So to be connected with an agent really brings a lot of resources to you. They can help you navigate so many different aspects, like home inspections are a big issue. They have a lot of resources. They've done this before.
Right.
Navigating municipal requirements like dye tests and maybe sewer line tests or occupancy permits. They've done it. They understand that. They can give you some really good sage advice, because it could have been, let's say, 20 years since somebody's been doing this stuff. It's all new now. Maybe they didn't have to go through all this when they first bought the house. And maybe they did. So if you're comfortable with it, great. But an agent also knows how to negotiate.
Yeah, and the ordinance
do
do change over time also. I mean, there's
They
things
do.
now that are required that certainly weren't required 20 years ago.
That's exactly right. They're always changing. So that's one of the things we keep up with, is we want to make sure that we are, we're accurate in our knowledge, because we're always asked that, things like, what's the millage rate, to is there an occupancy permit required in this certain area? So we just share those insights and that experience. It really makes a big difference. It translates into dollars and savings for homeowners.
Yeah. So I've decided to sell my house. I've contacted you or your office.
Yeah.
What do I do next?
Well, the first thing I would say is, let's get together at your house. Let's talk it through. Why don't you give me a tour of your house? And then we'll look at it, and we'll talk about what I like to call pre-packing. Let's get it together, and the first step can be declutter, if you will, but let's pack up a lot of it, because I'm sure you've noticed, in the market, everybody wants a house to look like HGTV when they list it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we used to say a model home, right? Now we say make it look, camera ready for HGTV, and that's not always easy, especially if it's your house, because I'm so used to my house and all my stuff. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't seem like it's clutter to me.
Right.
But for somebody like an agent to come in, an outsider, it's easy for them to say, okay, clear off that tabletop. Nothing on the tabletops, nothing on the kitchen counter. And then help you go about putting together a plan, because we're not just talking about inside, we're talking about outside too.
Right.
So maybe we bring in a landscaper to help you with that. Whatever your needs are, we'll help you. But to put together a plan of attack, it's important.
Okay. And you mentioned about, you look at it through different eyes than obviously I would. And you also mentioned HGTV, and I know on some of those programs there, they have people that stage houses.
They do.
So can you tell us a little bit about what that means and
Sure.
how that comes into play?
So it's kind of a trendy thing right now, but I have to say it's really important to do. Basically what you're doing is you're setting the stage for buyers to come in and fall in love with your house. That's the goal. So especially if it's a vacant house, sometimes when people walk through, they may not get a good feel for what they could do with it. So if you're moving out and it's going to be vacant, then the agent might suggest how it could be lived, like put a sofa here in front of the fireplace. Maybe just add a rug and a little side table with a lamp on it. Just to suggest this is the living area, to give people an idea of what they can do with it. Another reason why we want to do it is think about homes that have been modernized. A lot of those homes, like we've removed walls and we've made homes really big layouts and wide open spaces. So if you think about it, when you walk into a huge big box, you're wondering, okay, well, where's my dining area?
Right.
Yeah, where's my family room? So help people with the visual part, and then you help them, fall in love with the house.
Right, and people, when they do take walls down, they don't think about what the future is.
I know.
They want to know, this is what I want to do, and this is when I want to do it.
I know. We renovate for our comfort, which I get. We all do that. But I wonder the same thing. Like in 20 years, are you and I going to be adding walls?
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
We'll see. Who knows?
So there are professional companies that do come in and stage?
There are professional companies. Actually, some agents would do it for you, and you could potentially do it yourself.
Okay.
What I think is important is to talk to your agent about what kind of budget you have. What are you comfortable spending on this and any other presentation factors for your house, like maybe even outside landscaping? Trimming it up, putting some mulch and some flowers out front, and maybe like a fresh coat of paint on the front door. So have that conversation, because we might be able to do enough to set the stage, and that's good enough. Some houses would probably require the help of a professional, in which case we all know a lot of professionals that are good in our area. We could call them in and have them give you a consultation. So up front, they let you know what it would cost and what you can expect from it. And then they can share their experiences, because there are stats that show that when you stage a house, it sells for more and it sells faster.
Okay. Now I know that years ago I used to work for a wall covering company, and you could go into a store and you could pick the wall covering that you wanted, and they could do it virtually and say that's what it's going to look like. And I see that on television where it's like, okay, we can move this wall.
Yes.
Is there a lot of that done, and does that make more sense to do it that way?
Well, I love this idea. So we were at a house last week, and it was a great home, but you could see that a wall needed to be removed to kind of open it up. And both rooms were full of wallpaper, and it just needed somebody to give it a little bit of TLC. So what we did, we went out to a digital company, and they just take a picture of that area, and then they digitally enhance it and show you what it could look like. And it's night and day different. So it's suggesting what you might be able to do. Again, it's the visual thing. It's hard for most of us to look at a room and say, oh, well, it could be this.
Right.
So it'll show you as a buyer when you come through what you might be able to do, and it's really helpful.
Okay. Now, obviously, are there better times to sell, to buy in the year? Like now we're beginning to get into fall.
Yes.
Is this a big time, or?
Well, so first thing is we always sell houses year round. And what I'd say is that there are two busy times a year. The busiest would be the spring market. And usually if you're selling your house, most home sellers target that, but you may not have the luxury. What if your company is relocating you, okay? And so you guys need to go now, and the goal might be to be in by Christmas. That's fine. We have buyers right now desperate to find good homes. But if you're going to put it on the market in the winter, that's okay. You can still sell your home in the winter. What I found is a lot of first-time home buyers are looking then, because they're not tied to a school year. So they can move anytime. They're not worried about it. What they want is a really good deal in the area they've been looking in.
Is there a better time of years for deals or not?
I think wintertime.
Okay.
If homes have been sitting on the market, then in wintertime often they're saying, in a disappointed manner, what am I going to do? Here's my house, it's on the market in late December or January. This is frustrating. So they may drop their price to try and attract a buyer. Really, it's a good time for savvy shoppers to be looking, because at the same time, interest rates usually go down just a bit. Now, again, I'm just telling you what I see
Sure.
often. But so it's a good combination to save money.
Okay. And you mentioned an agent a few times. Why is it important to have an agent, and how do you pick the agent to work with?
What I think is important on selecting an agent is to get somebody that's connected to your community, someone that knows the community well. To me, that will be the most help. And then somebody that has a lot of experience. They know what they're doing. You might want to talk to your friends. Who have they used? Have they had a good experience? You want someone knowledgeable in the local laws, ideally in your community. And also, hopefully they've sold a lot of homes there, or maybe they work with a lot of buyers. That's another way to look at it, because after all, if you're selling your home, you want a buyer to buy it. So look for an agent that has a lot of buyers, and associate with the people that are active in your community. They'll know it the best. You know, my company, like we were talking earlier, we're going to Community Day.
Right.
Look for things like that. You want somebody that's invested in your community, and it will help you because they'll know what they're doing.
Now, the homes that are on the market now in Bethel Park, what's the average selling time before when someone lists it till they sell it? How many days is it usually on the market?
Well, so there are a few numbers I could give you here. So if you're buying a house, okay, which would mean if you're selling it, you could close your house purchase anywhere from 30 to 45 days. Right now, 30 days is hard because we're all really busy. So you might want to extend it out. It's always a negotiation. But if you were to say 45 days, that would be pretty quick. I've seen purchases extend 90 days. A challenge on that would be your mortgage lock-in rate. So a buyer wants to make sure they can handle those kind of financial side of it.
Right.
But really, it's a meeting of the minds of the buyer and the seller, and figuring out what's going to work for the seller, what's going to work with the buyer's time frame, and coming together on that to make a plan.
Right. So if we sign a contract today, you're saying it's between 30, 45 days before we can actually purchase it.
Right, you'd close on it.
Right. But how long is the average house on the market in Bethel Park?
Right, okay, that's another thing. So we saw days on market like around 21 days this past spring. So really moving quickly. Remember, that was also when we had prices to where they were even going like 102% of sales price they were selling for, which is crazy. So that means it was, I want to say, kind of a forced market. Inventory was so low, which meant there were so few homes for buyers to choose from. So we had to help buyers because they wanted to put really strong offers out there, to the extent that some wanted to go over list price to be able to stand out, to be able to get that house.
And if they do that, because I've always wondered if a house is listed for, we'll say, $250, and a lot of people want it, so now we're going to have a little bidding war. If they ended up selling that for, we'll say, $275, how does that affect the loan from the bank? I mean, when the bank appraises it at $250.
Right. They want to lend on what it appraises for, not what you pay for. So you have to be careful about that. One of those nuances is, for a seller, if you put your house on the market and let's say you get 5 multiple offers or 10, I mean, we even had them up to 18 multiple offers, which is crazy to manage. But you have to really look at those offers. What's in them? It's not always the highest price. You need to look a little bit deeper. Things like the contingencies, like, are they going to have a home inspection? Is it going to be contingent on that?
Right.
Are they going to look at the sewer lines? Are they going to check out the radon? Are they going to have a pest inspection? All of those things are important because they could find out more information. Maybe they'll come back to you and say, oh, you know, there's an issue with your foundation. I need you to pay for this repair before we're going to go forward. So there are nuances in that. So as a seller, would it be more important to take a lower offer because they had fewer contingencies?
Right.
Those are the kind of nuances we want to talk through. There's no right or wrong answer. But everybody's house is different. So we help our buyers and sellers make the best decision. I caution people about trying to buy a house without a home inspection. I think that's dangerous. And also for sellers, you know, you want to make sure this buyer understands your house, that you've disclosed everything, and avoid problems. No one wants problems after the new buyer moves in.
Right, and right at the closing date, it's like, well, I forgot to tell you that we need a new roof or something like that.
Right. Yeah. Well, that would be terrible.
Yeah.
Right. We want a calm final walkthrough.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when they go through, everything is good and they're excited. So that's what we're looking for.
And because it is a seller's market, I know that the few times I've moved, we would put an offer in on a house, but it was contingent on us selling the one we have.
Yes.
Now, because there's so many people that want houses, does the seller look at it and say, nah, I can't wait for that to happen?
They might. That's a sale and settlement of other property contingency, and they might do that. And that's just part of that picture. It's unfortunate for a buyer that has to do that. I'd say most buyers need to do that, unless maybe they're renting somewhere. But it's something you have to look at carefully as a seller. You know, they're trying to think about, okay, what's my best bet here? Mm-hmm. What's the best move for me?
Sure.
So if I have two offers at the same price, but one of them still needs to make sure they can sell their house and
right.
one of them doesn't, you've got to pick one of them.
Right.
So we try and help our clients sort through all these different options.
Okay. Just to wrap the program up, what's your vision on the future of home sales in Bethel Park? And I know it's a crystal ball, nobody knows, but how do you feel about it?
I feel great. Interest rates are really good. It's such a great time to buy a house. You have more buying power, and to sell a house because houses are in demand. It's perfect. You know, they're selling at a strong rate when it hits the market. If it's prepared well and it looks really sharp, then you're in a good position to make money on your house. It's the best time in real estate to me. It's very positive.
Right. Well, great. Well, we thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Now, if someone wants to get a hold of you, can
Yes.
you give us your email address, your contact information?
Absolutely. Now?
Yeah.
Sure. Robbins Bobbitt at howardhanna.com. And that's ROBBINS BOBBITT at howardhanna.com.
Okay.
Yes. And I'd love to help anybody.
Well, thank you very much for being part
You're
of
welcome.
our show.
This was fun.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, well, we hope you enjoyed our show on the real estate market in Bethel Park. Again, I want to thank Robbins Bobbitt for being here with us to answer any questions or concerns you may have. And we look forward to seeing you next month on another episode of Jack of All Trades.